Yo, what is up guys, welcome to a new video. My name is Wildcrow and today I'm going to show you how to make vocal chops. Something you've been requesting a lot. I'm going to show you how to do them, how to process them, and I'm going to be using my upcoming song Late Nights that is coming out really soon. So yeah, I'm going to show you a preview of this song. First of all, you need to know that there are a lot of different ways to make vocal chops. You can just take the vocal and cut it, you can put it in a slice X, and here in a slice X this is going to create the cuts automatically. Then you just use the piano roll. You can use the plugins. There are a ton of ways to do it, but I'm going to show you the way I did it. So this is the project of my upcoming song Late Nights that is coming out really soon. These are the vocals, and up here all of these are the vocal chops. As you can see, I did a lot of different tests to see what was the best result, and I choose the option that I like the most. And if we take the song, it sounds like this.
Oh baby, best believe it. Still building a close, you know you never need it.
As you can see, it has happy vibes, kind of radio, but also fits well in the clubs. And the vocal chops are not something super complicated, super crazy, but it works. And if it works, it's nice. So wow, how these vocal chops started? At the beginning, we decided to use a vocal from another song just to get some inspiration. So I took that vocal and did the cuts to get the vocal chops. And I liked them so much and I got used to this. So then when I got the original vocals for this song, I wanted to make the same vocal chops. The original vocal chops are these. This vocal had all the processing and the reverb and everything, so when I tried to do the same chops with my own vocal, I didn't really get the same result because that reverb was not in the track. For example, this is one of the first tests we did for the vocal chops. As you can see, it doesn't sound at all the same. But the final vocal chops sound quite similar. So the processing took a lot of time, it was quite messy, but I'm gonna focus on that later. Let's see first how I did the chops. The first thing I recommend to do vocal chops is to get some rhythm. And for that you can just use a piano, okay? You can do something like this, like we did. Okay, just do it like this with a piano. So then the only thing you have to do is to have here the melody, here the vocal, and do some cuts wherever you want, just trying to follow this rhythm, alright? You can just do something like this. It's probably gonna sound bad, but whatever. Okay, the problem here is that we're following exactly as the singer is singing. So my advice is to just do random cuts and put them in different places. For example, you can just take this one, put it here. We change this one a little bit. From this, maybe you can take this one, put it here. Maybe you cut this one here and put it in this part. Now what we can do is put this, repeat it. We could do some changes, of course, in some parts to don't make it that boring. But let's see how this will work with the original chords of this song. For me it's nice, it's quite good, I like the melody and the rhythm. But now maybe you're thinking like, oh, but what if I want some of those notes maybe to go higher or lower in pitch? Or what notes are this vocal using? Well, first of all, if the vocal is in key, then there's no problem. All the notes are gonna be in key, so that's nice. But if you want to use other notes, what you can do is just so simple. You, for example, go here. Let's say you want to pitch this one semitone higher. You go here, you make it unique, and pitch the vocal just one semitone higher. This simple. Or something that you can do that in my opinion is better is to put it here on Newton and you go to the parts that you like. For example, let's say you cut this part. Maybe you don't want it here, you want it up here. So now you take this, you replace the file, and now you have it. This way you can also control better the notes of every part of this vocal chop melody. But now, how to process the vocal chops to make them sound full, strong, and all of this? Because in the end, the vocal chops are gonna be like the leads. And the leads always need to be full, big, wide, and all of this. Of course, every song is gonna be different, and maybe you want some vocal chops that are quite thin, that are really clean, that are maybe in the center or only on the sides. But I'm gonna show you how I did it here. So for this, I have a layer of 3 vocals. The first one is just the normal vocal. It has a bit of de-essing to control the S, a bit of EQ where I'm just making it cleaner, and as you can see I'm reducing the highs. I'm gonna explain why later. Some soothe to cut the resonance, and nothing else. But the problem of this vocal is that it's mono, it's in the center, and I want these leads to be like the main thing, like a lead, so I want them wide and big and full. So what can I do? Well, then what I can do is clone this vocal and put it on the sides, but we need a special processing for this. So we have this vocal here that has this manipulator that just have a little bit of formant to make it sound a little bit different, and here's the trick to make the clone sound a little bit different from the main one. Then we have wider, of course, to put it on the sides. Some EQ to, well, make it cleaner, you know, cut the highs, make it a bit wider, and then another EQ where I'm cleaning, as you can see, a lot of the mid frequencies, and in the end sounds like this. Why I'm doing this processing? Well, first of all, you need to make the clone a little bit different, because this is a clone. It's exactly the same vocal take, sounds exactly the same. So if you put just the clone on the sides, as it's exactly the same, it's gonna sound everything in mono. But why I did that EQ? Why I clean so much the mids? Well, because in the sides I don't want that much mid frequencies and to give a space to the main vocal. But also, if we zoom, as you can see here, it's not exactly at the same place. It's a little bit delayed. You can delay it more or delay it less, but if you don't delay it, it's gonna sound mono. Let me show you. This is with this vocal without the formant, without the wider, and at the same moment.
Nobody's
Sounds in the center, sounds mono. This is with a bit of delay.
Nobody's
You can maybe hear a little bit on the side, but not really. But if we apply the formant and the wider,
Nobody's
you already can hear a little bit on the sides. Check the difference. Without
No
and with.
No
But this still sounds really clean, you know? I want this to sound fat, strong, so that's why I decided to add reverb in another layer. This way, when I export all of this, in this stem that I'm gonna export, I'm gonna have the reverb inserted. So then when I do the cuts, it's gonna sound better. You know, like the vocal I had as reference in the beginning. To make this reverb, I used Edison. Here, what you have is the vocal,
No
but if I press Ctrl B, I have the blur. And here, of course, if you apply to the max, it's like a vocal drone, but I don't want this, so I'm just gonna apply a little bit and test.
Nobody Nobody's
And get the one I prefer. After this, what I want is this vocal to be really bright. So as you can see, cutting the lows, a lot of the mid highs, and boosting the highs, and then more crazy queuing to get the result I want. And sounds like this. I just did this cut because I didn't really like how it sounded here. But if you play all of the three together,
Nobody's gonna love me like you.
as you can see, this reverb is covering a lot of space. But in the end, this wasn't reverb enough, you know, this is like a reverb to cover a space in the background, but then the main vocal and the side vocal are still dry. So I decided to add an extra reverb, so this way we have more reverb.
Nobody's gonna love me like you.
But of course, working with these three stems is so annoying, so what I did is just render all of this in one vocal track, and this one has even more processing. So what did I do to go from this to this? That sounds way stronger. First, we have an EQ to clean a little bit the vocal and make it a little bit wider. As you can see here, I have a dynamic EQ, so it's cutting a little bit the resonance when it's needed. Another EQ, basically cleaning more, making it wider because I wanted to, cutting a bit the highs because they were a bit annoying. Soothe to cut more resonance here and here. Be careful because here, if you apply a lot, it's gonna have kind of robotic sound. And actually, I wanted a bit of this robotic sound, that's why it's so strong. More EQing. Then I have a bit extra reverb. As you can see, this one is really short, just 1 second, to cover a bit extra space. And as you can see, also is quite bright. So this without, and this with. As you can see, it's a really short reverb, just covering a bit extra space to make it sound a bit fuller. But if we check this, it is sighting. Then we have a CLA2A to compress all of this, and a limiter to avoid some peaks.
Nobody's gonna love me like.
As you can see, I'm not doing a lot, just to control a bit more the sound. But then we go to this final processing. We have this delay, just again to cover more space. I just want to make this sound super big. Then we have more reverb, but this time we have it longer. The other reverbs were more to make the stem like fuller, to cover the space. But this reverb is more for the reverb of the song, you know, to add the depth and fit it in the mix. And both things are controlled with this peak control to have a bit of sidechain.
Nobody.
And have a bit cleaner sound. And then as you can see, we have an OTT after the reverb. Because let's say this is the volume of the vocal and this is the volume of the reverb. What I'm gonna do with the OTT is do this, you know, make the reverb stand out more, make it shine more, be more present in the mix. As you can see, I'm just applying a 13%, it's not a lot, but I'm increasing the upward compression. I'm taking the low sounds, boosting them up. This without, and this with. Finally, wow, this EQ. I really don't know what I did here. I just needed the things. Well, probably I could go more simple and more basic, but if it works, it works. Last but not least, a compressor and a limiter to make sure that all the peaks are controlled and everything. Finally, sidechain. I wanted a really aggressive one. And with all the right cuts and the processing, the vocal chops sound like this. But as you can see here, we have an Effectrix automation. And this because I thought that having this long note here and again here was a bit boring. So I decided to make some tape stops. And the last thing is that I did something extra to make them fit a little bit better in the drop, because in this drop I'm using really strong and bright pianos that are sharing a lot of frequencies with the vocal chops and maybe can mask a little bit them. But it's really simple. I just have this peak controller on the vocal chops and this EQ on the piano leads, and I'm automating this and these bands. As you can see, it's not reducing a lot, it's reducing around 2 dBs and a half, but it's making it sound way cleaner and giving a bit extra space to the vocal chops. So well guys, this is it. This is how I did the vocal chops of my upcoming song with Holly and Hot Mess called Late Nights. It's coming out this 10th of March in Turn It Up Music, and it would be awesome if you could pre-save the song. Down in the description you have the link. This way you help us a lot, and as I help you, you can do it, you know, in exchange of helping each other. So nothing else guys, thank you so much to all these people here that are my Patreon members and support me every month, and I help them as much as possible. Thank you so much to you for watching, and see you in the next video.